Night of the Zoopocalypse is a new kids animation comedy horror film that is now available to check out in theaters and was produced by Viva Kids. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. I definitely appreciate it. Whether you're new or whether you're returning to the channel, I definitely appreciate you guys clicking on this video. And if you are new, definitely hit that subscribe button. I do reviews like this all the time on the channel. Definitely give a like as well to the video and comment below if you have checked out this film. Now, Night of the Zoopocalypse, what is it actually about? Well, it's about a bunch of zoo animals that are just doing their normal routine at the zoo and hanging out, and then one day a meteor actually strikes and it causes all the zoo animals to turn into zombies. Now, who actually stars in this film? Well, you have Gabbi Kosmidis, David Harbour, Scott Thompson, Sun-Hyung Lee, Pierre Simpson, and Heather Loretto, and it was directed by Rodrigo Perez-Castro and Ricardo Curtis. Ricardo Curtis has done a short film with Ice Age, and the other director, Rodrigo, he's done one of their kids' film, but I've never heard of it before. Now, Viva Kids, my history with them, I've seen about 4 or 5 of their films. A lot of their films are very mad and mediocre. I've reviewed Epic Tales, Jungle Bunch, and I believe one other film, I think it was the Road Rally Racers film that they released a couple years ago. And all those films are very meh to like just okay. Nothing like that really jumped off to where I was like, yeah, like you've got to go watch these movies. And to be honest, most of the time when I go see those movies, there's not really anybody in the theaters because they're not really promoted well. And this is another one of those movies where it wasn't really promoted well, but I was very interested because the trailer itself, I was like, wow, this is like a really cool concept. It's definitely different. It's got the horror vibe. It's for kids as well. It's got the comedy. I was like, okay, this sounds like it's a pretty interesting premise. It actually comes from an idea inspired by Clive Barker. He has a short story called Zombies, and the directors, they are basing it off of that to really get their influence here. Now, I'll first start off by saying that from a positive standpoint, these characters here. So you have a mountain lion and you also have a wolf, David Harbour, and you also have Gabbi Kosmidis. Both of them, I think they are very good with their chemistry here. I think both of them teaming up, they have some other animals. They have an ostrich, a monkey, a lemur, a capybara. They all kind of team up and they're trying to figure out the bottom of like, what is the cure to these animals, why are they turning into zombies, and then also like what can they actually do to stop this from spreading across the zoo. I also like the animation here. I think the animation here is pretty unique. I think it's probably the best animation that Viva Kids has had in any of their movies. Now, I'm not saying it's like Pixar animation, but I think it's done really well. Some of the filtering of like the different colors, like certain scenes, they would have definitely like a horror vibe, or they would have like green and then we have like fog in the background. They had some purple colors as well, red. So it has very defining colors to really make it feel like a horror movie. It feels like it really gets from that Night of the Living Dead type of aspect as well. I definitely got like little vibes of that throughout this movie. Despite the fact that it is a horror film, it still is a kid's movie, and it still has its comedy, and it still has some kiddish kind of elements to it. Some of the characters, some people may find them annoying. I have kind of read online that some people feel like they're a little bit annoying. To me, they never really got that. I felt like the voice acting here was done pretty well by pretty much everybody. I didn't really know anybody else other than David Harbour, but I think David Harbour, despite the fact that he has the lead role here and he stands out, I do think that Gabbi Kosmidis does a pretty good job as well. I think she really stands out, and she is a character that you can really root for. And I think because you have characters that you can really root for, you feel like you're really invested in the film, and I was very invested in what was really going on within the film. I felt like there were times where there were some funny moments. I felt like there was some scary moments. I do feel because there is some scary moments, this film will scare little kids, and I think like the smaller kids, like 5 to 6, maybe this is just a little bit too scary for them, but at the same time they kind of lighten it up with the humor and they make it not so scary as well. So it's not like really like bloody or anything like that. It's still a kids movie when it really comes down to it, and you can really tell within like the third act and kind of how they really wrap it up and solve different issues that it definitely still is a kids movie. And I kind of really kept that in mind when I really was going to score this film, and really my enjoyment of it. I know that this is a kids film at heart, so that doesn't really take away the element of the film itself as far as the fact that it is really kiddish, especially within the third act. But I still like the fact that you have a story here just a little bit different than like the average kids movie, and just like with the animation and kind of like the colors and just like little different things and little tidbits within like horror genre, combining it with a kids movie, I think is genius. And I just think that it's something different. I think Viva Kids, they need more different movies like this, because they really need to stand out and really get on top of the game, especially if they really want to come out of the animation cycle and just kind of be like a different kind of studio in which they're releasing movies that are a little bit unique. And I feel like they've kind of always just played in the ballpark of just doing really safe movies, very mediocre stuff. And I think this is one of those films that if they just had a little bit more like promotion and like told people about it, I think that this could be something where people could possibly really enjoy this, especially like horror fans and kids alike. But I think also too, the problem with them is I don't think they release any of their movies on physical media, and I don't even know if they really put their stuff on streaming. So I think that really hurts them as a company, because even with showtimes for this, when I went to go see it, there were only 2 showtimes, and they were only like 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So there was no like later showtimes like an 8 o'clock. And usually most kid films, when they come out, usually there's at least, I would say, 4 to 5 showtimes, maybe a little bit more if it's like a bigger type of kids movie. But I think because it's kind of limited in its scope, I think that's kind of part of the problem as to why these films, they're not really widely like for audiences to really be able to go out and go check these out. And at the same time, they don't promote their movies. So unless you have somebody like me that's reviewing these movies, how would you even really know about it? So I think from the studio aspect, they definitely need to do a little bit better job of promoting their movies. But as far as the movie itself, I think it's one of those movies that if you go into it and you're not expecting something like a Pixar with like some crazy messaging or adult-like messaging, because there isn't really like adult humor in here, but I think like what makes this kind of fun for adults is the fact that it has that horror aspect. And I think the characters, I like that they're very unique. Some of them, how they're drawn and how like they're animated, they're just a little bit different, especially like with their noses, they're kind of wild. And then just like how they really kind of communicate as animals. And there's like a wide variety of animals as well, which I can really appreciate. And I felt like as the film was going along, like I could really care about the characters and what they were really doing. And I felt like there were moments where, yes, there were some scary moments, but at the same time, they really balanced it really well. And I had a good time with the film overall. So as far as the score for this film for me, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a pretty good movie. I would watch it again, but again, I don't think it's going to get a physical media release, so it's probably not something that I'll end up adding to the collection. But if it comes to like streaming or VOD, I would check it out again, and I would recommend it to everybody else if they really want to check it out. Especially if like you're a horror fan, I think like there's some really good things that you can appreciate from this. But just be cautious, like if you have kids and you have really young kids, this could be a little bit scary for them because of the horror aspect. But again, it still has some kiddish moments, so definitely expect that. But overall, it's a pretty fun film, and I had a pretty good time with it, and it exceeded my expectations a little bit. And I hope that Viva Kids moving forward, they have a little bit more unique movies to add to their catalog. So what did you think about Night of the Zoopocalypse? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.